think embracing the season you're in and knowing that each year things are going to change. And so my dreams were on hold when she was 1 and 2 years old. Those first 2 years, that it took all my energy and all my time. I didn't have anything left over to give. It felt like I just tried to embrace the season, and it was hard, and I just got through it. But you will get through it, and it does get better.
I'm Erica.
And I'm Amory.
This is Leaning Into Being, the show that allows you to be your all so you can give your all.
Brought to you by Hello Mamas and Hey Mama.
Amory, I'm so excited for today's guest. Her name is Paige Murray. She is an author, a mom, an influencer, and she currently lives in Stephenville, Texas, along with her husband, Ty, their daughter, Oakley, and her stepson, Case.
It's going to be so interesting. And Paige is living a lifestyle that's a little bit different than you and I are living and urban moms are living. Paige is living on a ranch with a whole cast of interesting characters that include 500 cows, a mini horse, cats, dogs, chickens, you name it. So I can't wait to catch up and hear about her adventures.
What I'm super excited about is it sounds like she's coming out with a new book. She's a former broadcast journalist and rodeo reporter, and I can't wait to hear about her new book and how her life on the ranch has led her to becoming an author.
And some of the things that we're going to talk to Paige about today are dreaming big, her philosophy on motherhood, failure, self-doubt, and confidence. It's going to be an incredibly captivating conversation.
Hi, how are you, Paige? It's so nice to see you.
Hey, I'm doing so great. I'm down here in Texas, and we're finally getting some rain, and the weather's cooling off. So thank y'all for having me on.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited to have you on. And Eric and I were just chatting for it, and we were looking at your bio a little bit, and we just couldn't even believe all of the incredible animals and all of the different things that you have going on there. It's going to be such an exciting conversation today. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I have a unique life, I guess. You kind of forget it when you're surrounded by it in your town, but I know it'll be fun to talk with y'all and share my life with you here on the ranch.
Absolutely. We would, just to kick off, we would love for you to introduce yourself and share a little bit about you in your own words, because you do have such an interesting background and lifestyle.
Yeah, so I live on a ranch in Stephenville, Texas, with my husband Ty. He's a 9-time world champion cowboy. We live on a 2,800 acre ranch here, and we own a cow calf operation. And then I kind of added the funny farm to the ranch. And so I've added, I think we have 5 cats, 3 dogs, 3 rabbits, 2 turkeys, 2 peacocks, a bunch of chickens, guinea birds, a hamster, a rat, and just all kind of fun animals here. I'm from South Carolina, and I grew up in a small town called Lancaster. And then I went to Clemson University, and I majored in animal science and with a concentration in equine business. So I've always loved horses. And after graduating, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so I started working as a vet tech, and then I got a job with NASCAR as Miss Sprint Cup. I had done some modeling in college, and so my agency asked me if I wanted to apply for Miss Sprint Cup, and I got it, and I loved that job, and that's where I kind of fell in love with broadcast journalism. Shortly after that, I applied for a job with Ride TV, which was a horse-based television company. So I applied for that and got the job, moved to Texas, and met my husband shortly after, and traveled the world covering equine events, and hosted my own cooking show on there, and just did a lot of fun stuff, and then became a mom, and that's where I am now. Oh, and now I'm a writer, I guess. Now I'm a children's book author. It's just so exciting. I know. It's crazy how everything just comes full circle, and I guess that's what we're talking about. My children's book today, it's Rosie's Wild Ride, and it's based on our real-life Clydesdale horse, Rosie, and that's my daughter, Oakley. She's almost 6. So.
Oh my goodness.
Yes,
I love
so
that.
fun story.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you definitely have some unique experiences and such a diverse background. Would love to just kind of kick off about how your experiences as a rancher, influencer, and mother shaped your perspective on embracing differences in your personal and professional life.
It sounds a little bit old-fashioned, but when I grew up and I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian. So I went to school for animal science. And then I was like, if I get married and become a mom, I really want to be a stay-at-home mom. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I just really had an amazing childhood. I have two younger sisters, so there were three of us girls, and I just really attribute the happiness of my childhood to my mom being there. So when I graduated, I did work as a vet tech part-time to get those hours that I needed in case I did decide to apply for vet school. But then when I found that job, got that job with NASCAR and found out that I loved broadcast journalism and being a reporter, a rodeo reporter, I started doing that. And I got to accomplish all of my goals I felt like I set for myself in my career path. I accomplished those in my 20s. I felt like I didn't miss out on anything. Once I met my husband and became a mom, I didn't feel like I was cutting myself short or not accomplishing all these goals I set out for myself. I felt like, oh wow, I became a reporter for Fox Sports, and I had some amazing modeling opportunities, and I got to travel the country as Miss Sprint Cup with NASCAR. And so when I became a mom in 2018, I was okay becoming a mom. And it's still obviously a big challenge to step away from your career and kind of embrace that role as motherhood. It's so different, and it's gotten a little bit easier now that she's 6. That was a hard transition for me, but I think that's a big thing. I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. Once I said, okay, I want to become a mom, this is my season of life now, and I'm going to embrace, this job, because being a mom, I feel like, is one of the hardest jobs in the world, and it's so incredibly important, and it's just something that I valued. Being a mom, there's not a lot of opportunity to express your creativity, so creative outlets and ways to accomplish and achieve new goals. So I did have to find something once I became a mom that was fulfilling to me. First started thinking, well, what goals can I set for myself? Well, I decided I wanted to run a marathon. So I could push my daughter in her stroller. She loved going for runs on the ranch. We had just miles that I could run with her. And so that was a way for me to work towards something and have goals set out for me. And so I really got into running shortly after I became a mom. It was when Oakley, I guess she was 3.5, and you immerse yourself in board books and children's picture books when they're little, reading to her every night. And I love them. I was like, okay, I think I want to write a book, a children's book. And so it just kind of worked with that season of life, and I was writing in real time as a mom, and everything worked out, and now I have a children's book out, and it's just been so fun and exciting embracing these different seasons.
That is so exciting. And everything that you described, it sounds like a total dream. I'm sure so many moms are listening and they're like, wow, everything must just be perfect in her life, right? So I would be curious to hear from you about some of the challenges that you faced in your career, or maybe you embraced your differences and that could be a key reason for your success, or how you've overcome self-doubt in some of these moments.
That first year was the hardest year of my life. I broke out in hives, which I've never had. I'm not allergic to anything from stress. 2 or 3 times when my little girl Oakley was 1 year old. That was just the hardest time. And it takes all of your mental energy. It takes all of your physical energy. It just takes everything from you. And so, looking back, I felt like I was just surviving, just getting through, and I didn't have any, I think that's why I took up running. It was like active relaxation. It didn't take any thought. It didn't take any creativity, but it was still something I could work towards that made me feel proud of myself. There's some amazing days with motherhood. It's so rewarding, it's so fulfilling, but it's also the hardest job ever. It is definitely challenging. So my life is not perfect. I don't have it all together. But I think if you can figure out what your values are and go from there, and then making my family and my daughter being a mom is my first priority. So there were times I'd try to work on something just because I was feeling like, oh, what am I doing with my life? I had to stop saying that I was just a mom. It's like, you're not just a mom. Like, being a mom is a job in itself. So now, I just say I'm a mom. I'm not just a mom. And then when they get a little bit older, when she was 2, I started her in a wee school 2 days a week. When she was 3, she went 3 days a week. When she was 4, I think she went 3 days a week, and then she started kindergarten. So that really frees up a little bit of your time. It was freeing for me once I had just those couple days to just work on something that was important to me. And that's when I started all the writing and blogging during my time when she was at school and all. And so it's not easy. And, it's always a balancing act. But I think you just try to find it and find what's important to you. And then something that really struck out to me when I was like looking for quotes or someone to relate to, it said, if you want to change the world, go home and raise your children. And I felt like that was true. And I was like, that's, the most important job. That's how you can change the world, is raising your children. And either way, you're going to have mom guilt. Whether you're working, you're going to feel guilty for leaving your children. And if you're a stay-at-home mom, you're going to feel guilty for maybe feeling like you don't have any ambition and you just, don't have anything else going for you in your life. So I think either way you feel guilt, you can feel mom guilt. But for me, what was important was I didn't want to look back and miss her childhood. I didn't want to ever regret not spending enough time with my daughter.
It's so true. And the balance is definitely, we like to say at Hello Mamas, the juggle is real. And it's certainly real with all of the balancing and managing of all of these different elements. I'd love to ask, you mentioned, certainly the balancing of motherhood and your profession and those seasons that you were in. As Oakley's now 6, how do you manage societal expectations and the pressure to fit into certain molds?
Yeah, I think no matter what you do, someone's going to have something to say, and whether good or bad. 50% of the people are going to agree with you, 50% aren't. Back in the day, it was so common to be a stay-at-home mom and a homemaker, and then with feminism and all, which I'm so thankful for, because now I feel like we have the choice to be a stay-at-home mom or go to work. And so you have the privilege of making that choice of what you want to do. There's no one size fits all. You have to figure out what works for your family. My sister, she's worked since my nephew was, I think, 3 months old. She's a teacher, and she had to go back to work, and she's fulfilled and happy too. And so I think it's just setting the judgment aside and not worrying about what other people say and just doing what feels fulfilling and right to you. And when you go to sleep at night, are you regretting anything? Is something feeling off? And then if so, maybe you need to make some changes. We just live our life the best we can, and I have a super happy daughter, and our family is doing great, and so it feels right to me. And just do what works for your family, and you have to figure out what that is and what feels good for everybody.
Love that. I love that. Okay, switching gears a little bit, what does dreaming big look like to you, and how would you define it?
Dreaming big is a big theme in the children's book that I wrote, Rosie's Wild Ride, Chasing Big Dreams. That's one of the main themes. And it was interesting earlier you said, too, embracing your differences. That's another big theme in this book. It's when you have something on your heart and something that you can't get out of your mind, then you need to go after it and figure out how to make it happen and kind of will this life that you envision. So to me, dreaming big is just planning out the future, not just the immediate goals, but what you envision for your future, and then taking steps along the way to make that happen.
Wow, I love that you have laid this out in such a strategic and easy to follow plan. Do you have a roadmap for how you're going to teach your daughter your dream big philosophy, so that she can be able to accomplish her dreams as well?
Yeah, I think the main thing is finding your passion, but knowing that can also change. And so in the book, when they chase their big dreams, so Rosie, she dreams of being a rodeo star, and Oakley does too. But, her mom and dad, we say she's too little. She's got to find a gentle horse. And then Rosie, the Thumbs, our barn cat, kind of taunts her and picks on her, saying she's too big and too slow to be a rodeo horse, which she really is. If you think about it, Clydesdales are not usually rodeo horses. And so they have these dreams on their heart to be rodeo stars, and they have to figure out how to make them happen. So they practice hard, and then when they go to the competition, they find out along the way they're not that great at this. They fail a few times. They have to be resilient and then figure out where their strengths and talents lie that help them accomplish their goals. So I think one thing is first finding your passion and what you care about, but I'll help Oakley with it, but you also have to embrace your inner strengths and talents. And then I think, where your talents and your passion combine, that's where you can set yourself up for success. Find out what you're good at. Find out what your differences are that make you good at these things, and embrace those talents and your unique differences, and put those towards your passion to figure out how to make your dreams come true. So I think with Oakley, we'll just encourage her to keep finding her passions. And then kids are naturally drawn to things they're good at. So I think, that'll just be something she figures out on her own, and figures out which talent she was born with that's going to help her chase these dreams.
You've kind of have laid out your dreams and your goals. It sounds like that was also a common trait that you and Ty both have. What would you say to a mom who might feel like their dreams are on hold today because of the demands of motherhood? How would you give them some advice on that?
I understand how you feel. I felt that way too. I think embracing the season you're in and knowing that each year things are going to change. And so my dreams were on hold when she was 1 and 2 years old. Those first 2 years, that it took all my energy and all my time. I didn't have anything left over to give. It felt like I just tried to embrace the season, and it was hard, and I just got through it. But you will get through it, and it does get better. And then I think once you have a little bit of time, and it feels like you can think again and breathe, and then it's time to start maybe accomplishing those dreams that you have. And with me, when I got it on my heart that I wanted to write children's books, I've always loved to write. I just started writing. And the hardest thing to do sometimes is to start. And so I think you just start chipping away at those dreams. And it was the same with my running. That I tried to figure out a dream I could do during those first 2 years, and running a marathon. Okay, I can do that. I can push her in the stroller. It won't take away my time as being a mom. But you just start chipping away at it. So I just started writing. I didn't know I was going to get published. I figured I would self-submit my manuscript to smaller publishing agencies that took unsolicited manuscripts, because I didn't know any literary agents. And then if I couldn't get someone interested, I was like, well, I'll just maybe self-publish it on Amazon or something. And it's just a passion project for me. And it made me feel proud of myself to do it. And then, just by divine intervention or coincidence, whatever you believe, I believe that God put the right person in my life, but I met a literary agent at Oakley's gymnastics class, and she said she wanted to represent me. Yes, I was like, you got to be kidding. She just moved to Stephenville. Her husband's from here, and her name's Esther, and she had just moved to Stephenville, and she was looking for some mom friends too. If I would have never started or waited for a publishing deal or to meet Esther, it wouldn't have happened. So I think you just start and see what happens, and just keep taking small actions every day in that progress principle to make progress on something that's important to you.
Definitely. And we are huge believers in that there are no coincidences, and people come into your universe to help you and support you in your journey and where you're meant to be going and what you're meant to be doing and achieving. And it's so important to continue to build relationships with other women and how much of an impact they can have on your success and where you wind up going. It's like all of the friends that you make and the women that you meet in, as you said, it could be like a mommy and me class. It could be at school pickup. It could be somewhere that you're volunteering. It could be somebody that you're running next to in the marathon, and they can completely change your life. And that's why community is absolutely so important. And that Eric and I are so passionate about building community for moms through Hello Mamas and bringing women together and sharing in these conversations. So thank you so much for providing all your insights. And I would just love to hear a little bit more about your story in writing Rosie's Wild Ride and kind of how your whole process of dreaming big and leaning into that part of your life really led you, to create this beautiful book.
No, thanks. And I think it's amazing what y'all are doing. One, for the community, and then that you have with other moms. And then two, when you have people you can relate to, it just makes you feel less alone. And that's social media is great for that. When you just have someone that says, I've been there too, I've gotten through this, you're going to get through it. And sometimes you want to share your joys. Sometimes you want to commiserate. But being a mom can be very isolating and lonely, especially that first year. So having a community, I think, is so important, and it helps inspire you, and it just feels better. And so, yes. So writing Rosie's Wild Ride, the idea came along, all of these lessons that were being learned on the ranch that I was teaching Oakley. I thought these would make amazing children's stories and lessons for other children. You know, we do live like a dying way of life. Ranching used to be so common in farming, but it's not, it's not anymore. And so it is a very unique situation, but Oakley learns a lot of lessons that other kids may not be exposed to. She's around death a lot. So there's a lot of life, the circle of life and death on the ranch. And then just the responsibility of living on a ranch, the hard work, the integrity. There's so many amazing lessons these animals are teaching. Oakley would ask me about them that evening, even learning about like the morality of nature. And there is no right or wrong in nature. Everyone's just trying to survive. And so there were all these incredible lessons I was talking to her about. And I was like, these are going to be the themes for these books I want to write. And so Rosie, she inspired me because she's an out-of-place Clydesdale on the ranch. My husband loves horses, and horsemanship is his passion. And he wanted to get her as an experiment to see if he could make like a cow horse out of a plow horse. And she's amazing. And he wanted a really safe horse for me and Oakley because they're slow and gentle, and they're known as gentle giants. So I started thinking, I was like, I wonder what it feels like to her to show up on this ranch, not look like any of the other horses and be so big, but have this dream to be a ranch horse. It's kind of how the book started. And that turned into a rodeo adventure, her dreaming of being a rodeo horse. I was inspired by, she's constantly being told she's too big and too slow. She's filled with this self-doubt. And then her and Oakley team up together, and they move from a place of doubting yourself, and then instead of being filled with doubt, they learn to be filled with curiosity and wonder about what they can accomplish instead. A big theme in the book is what if I can, is believing what if I can. And that came from a real experience on the ranch. Oakley was 3.5, and I said, do you think you can get up on that big horse by yourself? She wanted to ride and try to get on by herself. I said, do you think you can get on her all by yourself? She said, what if I can? And I was like, wow. I was like, that's like a true testament of the human spirit before you're aware of the shame and failure, or shame and embarrassment that comes with failing. It was just so innocent, and it was like, that's a great reminder for adults and children to believe, what if I can? How many times do we not do something because we're scared, what if I can't, or what if I fail? And so just that shift from doubt to wonder and curiosity was like such cool insight that I feel like came from Oakley. And so that made it into the book. The most important thing I think is in a children's book is that it entertains, and it's an adventure. And I feel like these stories are adventures for kids, and they're exciting, and they're not just like a lesson book or a moral. Those are subtly built in there, but they're from fun adventures that are really happening on the ranch. And I think children can really relate to animals, and by using animals, you kind of remove yourself a little bit from it. You can kind of experience their emotions in a better way and learn from them by using the animal characters. And so that was my process in writing Rosie, and then I wrote several other stories. I was hoping it would turn into a series. When I first started writing, I was like, please don't let this be the last book once I got that deal, because it's so fun, and I'm having such a great time. I feel so fulfilled, and did so well that 2 more Rosie books are, coming down the line for it to make it into a series. So that's been really exciting and fun to work on, and I'm so grateful for the support and people that are excited and want to read about Rosie and Oakley and our ranch animals.
Oh my goodness, that's so exciting. Congratulations. I can't wait to read all of them in this series. You bring up a really interesting kind of dynamic that I think not only kids play, but also we as adults and certainly as mothers play, which is this role of self-confidence. And how do you cultivate self-confidence during difficult times? And, how has self-confidence played a role in your life, both as a mother and as a professional?
Yeah, it's so important to help your child find self-confidence. And every kid's different. Oakley, she kind of came out confident. She's a lot like her dad, and he was always very confident. And, but all kids are different. So my stepson, he's 13, and he is more of a cautious and reserved and thoughtful kid. So he thinks things through, and he was always very hesitant to try anything new, just scared that he wasn't going to be good at it. So it's been a little bit harder to help him find his self-confidence, but he has. So you have to know what kind of child you have first. Oakley, that was just something that came naturally to her. Every kid's different, and I think you just kind of have to adapt and change sometimes your parenting strategy for the other kids. And so Oakley, she wouldn't get discouraged if she would try something new and it would go bad. It would kind of make her mad, and she would want to try again. Case, if he tried something new and got hurt or wasn't successful, he would never wanted to try it again. And so I think with him, it's just taking things slower and slowly developing his confidence. Oakley, it's more keeping her safe and reeled in, and helping her not get so frustrated at herself. And so I think with Case, with children that are more maybe reserved, are cautious, children that are more cautious and not as competitive, it's just setting them up to win all the time. It's giving them tasks that they're going to accomplish and be good at, and starting off slow. And he's really grown a lot doing a sport like Taekwondo. It's more of a it's a competition with yourself more. And he gets to take his time, and seeing him grow and blossom in that has been really cool.
How do you approach mistakes and failures for yourself? I mean, I'd love to hear what are some of your tips and tricks.
Yeah, and this is something Case has learned being 13 now, I think, which is really cool, that your mistakes and failures, they can motivate you to continue to move forward. So instead of letting them discourage you, let them be like motivators for you. Okay, every mistake you learn something. And so take that, what'd you learn from this, and go forward to the next step. And then instilling in the kids too that mistakes are just part of learning. It's just practice. That's what practice is for, and it's all part of growing and learning. And Case said something the other day that was really cool. He's like, it's a mistake, but you learn something from it each time. The failure is just part of it. It's going to happen, and there's no way around it. It's part of learning something new. It's part of growing, and you probably learn the most from your mistakes and failures, truly. And so I think if you can take those lessons, whatever you learned, why it didn't work out, into going forward, then you can adapt and make the changes you need to try to be more successful the next time you go.
So true. Love that.
Absolutely. And we're almost at the end of our interview, but we have one last question for you that I'm actually really excited to hear your answer for. Paige, can you share maybe a challenging time or moment, something that you've been through where at the time you're like, "Oh, how am I ever going to get through this?" And now you're looking back on it, that you could share with us?
Just that first month and that first year, it was so stressful. And like I said, I've never had stress hives. I've never been a real stressed person. That brought out like anxiety in me that I've never experienced before. Everything makes you worry, and it's just like a really challenging time as a new mom, adapting to that and coming off, being a rodeo reporter and traveling and then staying home and trying to breastfeed. But after that first month, it all became a little bit better. Feeding got better for me, and I'm just glad I stuck with it. You just have to kind of bear down and have grit and get through those hard times and know that this is just temporary. It's not permanent, and those times are going to get better. Looking back, it's like I kind of wish I could do it over, and maybe I wouldn't worry as much. Maybe I would enjoy the time a little bit more. And sometimes I wish I could go back, because she was so tiny and so cute. Sometimes you wish you could have those moments back to where they would feel more enjoyable instead of just like a hard time in my life. But maybe it'd be the same. I don't know. Maybe I'd still worry, but just being a mom is the absolute best thing in the whole world. It's the most purpose I've ever felt in my life. I've never felt such a sense of purpose. I've never felt so fulfilled and happy, drained on energy, but so fulfilled and happy at the same time. And so it truly is the best thing. And seeing their personality, when that starts to develop, there's nothing like it. And everyone tells you it's a love like you've never experienced. But you don't understand that until you experience it and you feel it. And there's nothing like this love. It's like your heart is outside of your body, is what it feels like when you look at her. And it's like, how can you love something so much? And it just is such an honor and a privilege to be a mom and to see her grow, and to know that your influence and your caretaking is, raising this amazing little human. And so it's worth it. Everything that is meaningful, is challenging. And so it's truly the best thing in the world.
Paige, it's been so wonderful connecting with you and hearing your stories and all of the exciting things that happen on the farm. We'll put your book in the show notes, but it's available currently for pre-order, right?
Yeah, so Rosie's Wild Ride is available for pre-order right now, and it comes out October 8th. And so you can buy it wherever books are sold, but on my website, bootsandbiscuits.com, I've listed several bookstores and places you can buy it, different options where you can purchase the book from. And then also on my website, there's an activity kit. I printed it out so y'all could see it. But this is fun for the kids. You'll find a link on there, but it's like a fun, draw ranch items in her buggy and get find a path through the hay bales for her, a little maze. So it's a fun activity kit that parents can print out. And so you can do it banner they can make for their room. And then some Clydesdale facts, quiz cards you can have. So it's a fun activity for the kids to accompany the book. And yeah, it's almost out, and I've been waiting. It's been like a year and a half, and I'm so excited for it.
We are so excited for it too. Thank you. And that's a cute little activity kit. That's so fun to take to a restaurant.
Yes, keep them busy.
Keep them busy.
Exactly. Thank you so much for being on. We absolutely loved having you on today.
Yes, thank y'all so much for having me. It was so nice talking to you.
Thank you for listening to Leaning Into Being.
To get connected and join the Hello Mamas and Hey Mama community, visit hellomamas.co.
Let's connect, support, and grow together in this journey of motherhood.